Assalamualaikum and good afternoon everyone. My name is Aina Madena binti Abdul Muttalib. Today, I would like to present for my subject cross-cultural management, and for the sub-subject is barriers to intercultural communication. What is communication? Barriers. The communication between individuals from two cultures. Some problems of this nature can occur when doing business with foreign partners working with the foreign colleagues in the same company. Breakdown in communication commonly occur when the context of the message being communicated between the sender and receiver is unclear. Okay. Non-verbal behavior as a barrier. Okay. It includes gesture, facial expression, posture, and the distance between sender and receiver. These are all closely allied to or indeed replace verbal communication in terms of producing message. Also have a communicative value over and above verbal communication. Meta communication and non-verbal behavior. Okay. A meta communication is an act of communication between two protagonists or two agents. A meta communicative function can also include making gesture for complete message when information is missing. The second, making hand gesture and modulating the voice by adding rhythm and emphasis to reinforce for the verbal message. And the last, replacing spoken language when it's impossible for some reason. The nature of this meta communication behavior is determined. The nature of this meta communication behavior is determined by personal, social relation, and cultural factor. Okay, non-verbal interaction. Although facial expressions communicating anger, sadness, and fear are considered to be universal, the cause of this expression may be different. A nod of the head may will be expected to indicate affirmation and a shake negation. For example, the Greeks give a shake of the head to say yes. If the gesture or expression made is announced in another culture, then its meaning will not be understood. Communication could be interrupted or if an incorrect meaning is applied by the receiver, diverted. Okay. Certain gestures have the same meaning as in their own culture. In France, pulling one's eyelid down with the forefinger meaning I don't believe you. But in Italy, the same gesture meaning something different. I keep an eye on you. Compare the expression in France and the Netherlands to be figured out with or have had enough of. The gesture for this word is made the same way by raising one's hand to the head. In France, the hand stops at the top of the head, but in the Netherlands, it stops earlier at the neck. Okay. Non-verbal communication barrier in business. Non-verbal communication can also be a source of misunderstanding and irritation. For example, the French are very expressive and use the whole upper part of their body. Silence can also be a cause of misunderstanding, particularly between Western and Asian culture. In Western culture, silence marks pause in a discourse. In Thailand, silence is not only a sign of respect, of agreement or disagreement, but it is also highly appreciated as a style of discourse. In ASEAN, discourage verbalization since it contradicts the principle of modesty. In Korea, silence is preferable to hear improper use the words. In Japan, silence is preferred to verbalization. It can also be considered as being impolite in situations where active participation by the interlocutor is expected. In America, remaining silent is considered more negative. Non-verbal communication are simply styles of communication and do not indicate that a particular culture experiences more or less emotion. Assumption and culture. Culture assumption evolve as basic human response to fundamental problems. Assumption may have a cognitive dimension related to presumption as to how people think that things work. An effective dimension related to the presumed liking of people, and a directive dimension related to the presumed choice of people. Culture assumption can be related to time, space, or identity. Time-related culture assumption is related to four common questions. Question is the time considered as a scarce good? A task performed simultaneously or one after the others? Is life seen as a continuity or a cyclic episode? Is the orientation in time towards the past, the present, or the future? Cultural assumptions that are space-related have to do with being in or out, being a member or not, belonging or not belonging. Cultural assumptions are difficult for foreigners to detect because they are not easily expressed and are for the most part hardly understood by the insider. Statements may give about value and ideas, but the underlying assumptions are generally unclear. There is a difference between what people say and what people want to say. That's why assumptions can generate a lack of understanding and misunderstanding when people from different cultures are communicating. Barriers in assumption and culture. Assumptions can create all kinds of problems. For example, you receive an order communication from suppliers stating that the delivery date of the order will be take 2 weeks. The supplier thinks that their product must be delivered within 2 weeks. He feels contractually bound to these delivery times. A friend supplier may well think that he will do everything he can do to dispatch the goods by the date given for him. For him, this date is a promise that he's still subject to reconsideration. This problem of interpretation is not a language issue but a cultural. The words are clear, but the assumption underlying the words may differ from culture to culture. Okay, perception and stereotype. It is an example of an introduction to the question of stereotype. In the right-hand column is a list of stereotypical remarks made by a number of Western cultures given in the left-hand column. Every culture sees its own system of value in a positive light. In individual or specific nationality within a multicultural group are confronted with negative rather than positive stereotypes of themselves by other nationalities. Not recognize themselves in the profile made, they will react strongly because they feel personally under attack. Deny belonging to the group being characterized will define their own personal identity, see their national identity more in terms of them rather than us. Identity as an obstacle to communication. National identity characterizes nationality, sets the limits of the exchange. Perception of the other is called ethnocentrism. Ethnocentrism is inherent to any membership of a socio-cultural, ethnic, or national groups. Ethnocentrism, in its most simplified and elementary form, is responsible for forming prejudice and stereotypes. Building stereotypes. A stereotype is a serious image created in our minds with regard to a group or groups of people. A stereotype is therefore a communication of prejudice rather than a result of an accurate observation of reality. However, stereotypes are not always based on prejudice. Okay, dealing with stereotypes, people would be to place another culture in its own context and so avoid judging a culture on the basis on their own. Only then will stereotypes eventually disappear. Conclusion. For conclusion, the culture of the interlocutor filter the information and interpret it according to their own reference. They are very difficult to deal with since they are formed by the identity and the perception of individuals. Okay.